This is the Rugby World Cup final we all wanted and we didn't even know it. This year's Rugby World Cup final will take place on Saturday between the rampant All Blacks and their traditional rivals, the Springboks. The All Blacks stormed into the final on the back of a try fest by the star winger and the tournament leading try scorer, who ran in a hat-trick of tries against their hapless opponents. The Springboks, however, narrowly defeated their opposition in a rain-drenched semi-final with a lone try that ultimately decided the outcome. Unconvincing at times throughout the tournament, the Springboks faced the mighty challenge in trying to stop their much-favoured opponents this week. Only interesting thing is that is exactly the description of what happened in the 1995 World Cup final. It's weird how history repeats itself, so we honestly have to have a look at the history of this absolutely amazing clash between these two teams. There are some very significant stats just to take into account when you match up these two teams. It starts with them overall playing 105 games in the history of this rivalry. The All Blacks won 62 times, the Springboks won 39 times, and there's been 4 draws. Overall, this gives the All Blacks a 59% winning percentage over the Springboks. What makes this significant, though, is that the closest team after that was the Wallabies, who have kept the All Blacks to a 70% winning margin. In their history, the All Blacks have a 100% winning rate against 12 different test-playing nations. And that is something that is absolutely spectacular and unheard of in world rugby. When it comes to the matches between South Africa and the All Blacks, things are ever a lot closer. The average winning margin for the All Blacks has been 4 points, with an average score of 21-17. Although that stat goes back many years, I don't expect this game to be much different in terms of the final score. In the Rugby World Cup, there has been a couple of meetings between these two teams, but none as epic as the 1995 final. In that final, the All Blacks team came into the game on the back of Jonah Lomu absolutely running riot against absolutely any opposition that he faced. Most notably when they crushed England in that try-scoring fest that they had, running over Mike Catt and all of the other devastating tries that were scored throughout the tournament. Nobody actually gave the Springboks a chance in that game, but after extra time, it was the difference of Joel Stransky's drop goal that decided the outcome of the game. The build-up to the game thus far has had social media channels blowing up with support for both teams. You can just have a look at the respective Super Rugby teams in New Zealand. All of them changed their logos to black just to support the All Black team, and the people in South Africa, every single person you know has probably made a video of sorts in support of the South African team in anticipation of this epic final. This game marks a couple of historic records that will be broken. The first one will be the first time that a player would play in 3 World Cup finals, and that of course goes to Sam Whitelock. He will further extend his ridiculous record of All Black caps to go with that, and the all-time try-scoring record is in serious jeopardy with Will Jordan if he plays on Saturday, which I can't see that not happening. But the most important record of all is the team that wins this one. They're the first team that actually gets to 4 World Cup wins. If you look at the All Blacks, they weren't really tested against Argentina, and before that they had some mixed results with their 2 major tests of the tournament. One was a fail against France and one was success against Ireland in a very tough quarterfinal game. The All Blacks have, however, showed signs of brilliance as the tournament has progressed, and you could see some of the vintage All Black rugby coming through in many of these games. The All Blacks are at their most dangerous if a team actually gives them a little space to operate in. When they get that space, their attacking options just open up vastly. More often than not, it turns into opportunities to use the kick passes or to really run any of their well-structured backline moves from set phases. When they don't have the structured play, they find the space and they find the opportunities to put some very dangerous runners into space, and chance of catching Will Jordan or Bowden Barrett at speed, not the easiest thing around. With that, the ability to actually focus on defense and the concentration that they can put into that for long periods of time is absolutely amazing. It actually allows them to build a foundation on which they can craft a victory from. The only weakness at times has been when they have been put on the back foot. and their forwards have not been allowed to actually build a solid attacking platform. Those things are nullified. It makes it difficult for them to actually adapt to that at times and to turn in a winning performance. However, when their confidence is high, they're nearly impossible to stop. If they are disrupted in any of these areas, they can be beaten on the day. The Springboks had a very similar kind of run leading up to this point. They were not flawless at all. They had the loss against Ireland, and they weren't overly convincing in the two games versus France and England, respectively. The France game, they played much better rugby than the England game, and you could say that was their better game. But if you can somehow turn an under par performance like the one you had against England, find a way to actually shift gears and turn that into a win, that is the thing I would be more worried about if I was an All Black supporter. They have been at their best when they've mainly focused on forwards dominance and making sure that they absolutely suffocate other teams into submission. England nullified that and their kicking game to some extent in the semi-finals, and they were very effective at that for large periods of the game. The Springbok team, however, runs on a different kind of fuel and motivation, in my opinion. In a country where a lot is going wrong, the Springboks are a beacon of light, and the team knows it. And that is their major motivation in terms of who they play for and why they try as hard as they do. They play for their country with a nearly unrivaled passion, and it's been a big reason why they've been able to pull off these results in the past 2 weeks in particular. At the end of the day, I have to make a prediction, and in this one, I think with head and heart, it would be a Springbok victory. Yes, I know a lot of people won't agree, and in this one, I just think that is what will happen. I'm sure I'm going to have a few more heart palpitations, very similar to the semi-finals where I nearly didn't survive it. But this time I think it's actually going to be a reverse of that number that you've seen from the All Blacks over the years. I think it's going to be a 4-point margin with a score of around 21-17 in favour of the Springboks. And I think it will be a brutal and beautiful battle throughout. The thing that I think most rugby fans would definitely enjoy is watching all of those small little battles unfold that will actually result in the war being won at the end of the day.